Hello.
Hello.
The title of this video is the Lead Head Survivalists. And before I get into that, though, I want to make sure that I mention, yeah, we've all seen a lot of roller coasters going on with silver recently, and this is the middle of December right now, 2011. You know what? I think a lot of the selling pressure has come from investors who were very short of cash and very panicky right now. And you know, when they saw what was happening over in Europe, they got very nervous, and it was just sell, sell, sell. And silver and gold and everything else, just got all these other commodities got taken in by that same panicky selling, just throwing everything to the wind. The bottom line is, though, the fundamentals for gold and silver, especially silver, have never been stronger. So please don't get panicky. I expect a nice bull run recovery in 2012. With that said, once again, this is the Leadhead Survivalists, and that's lead, not red, which is what my daughter is nowadays. I think it looks nice. So, you know, what are Leadhead Survivalists? Every time I read a blog, they're always about survival or about, you know, investing in gold and silver. You know, in case there's some problems down the line with the government or the economy, there's always somebody who chimes in talking about how he's got all these guns and ammo, and that's all he's going to need to survive. I guess the inference here is that he's going to take it from us. He's going to use his gun to steal from myself and everybody else who prepared with food and with you know, with medicine and everything else to you know, as well as precious metals, to prepare for some of the extreme situations that might happen in the future. Anything from inflation or high inflation to hyperinflation to, you know, some sort of a major disturbance or interruption in our typical government because of all the different, you know, economic problems we're currently having and instability in our own government. And I have a major problem with that, not only from a moral standpoint, but I think taking a look at it just from a pure practical standpoint, running around believing that you can take anything you want with a gun is probably not a long-term good survival situation. And let's think about that for a second. First of all, you know, in inflation, and certainly that's something we're experiencing right now, you start running around with a gun trying to rob people, and you're going to get shot pretty soon, because there's still plenty of cops around and other people who aren't going to put up with that kind of nonsense. In periods of hyperinflation, there can be riots, and there can be, you know, times when there's not a lot of police around. But, you know, looking at past instances in Argentina and Yugoslavia, usually local organizations crop up for neighborhood defense. And you know, and the intermittent interruptions are still intermittent. There's still, you know, National Guards can come out, and police can show up, and they can establish peace again pretty quickly. So once again, if you're running around with guns, sooner or later someone's going to stop you, probably with, you know, a nice little 9mm bullet to your head or something to that effect. Lastly, you know, if there's any kind of governmental interruption, you know, let's say that it's almost as bad as your Mad Max type scenarios, which I consider the extreme end of things. You know, I think some people just think about that, and they don't think about all the other things that can occur. You know, but I think the best way to look at that is looking at the war that we had in Vietnam. Now, in Vietnam, we had an armed force that was fairly organized, i.e. the U.S. government. And let's take a look at, you know, we had army troops who would go into these villages, and they were fairly well armed and fairly well organized and commanded within a you know, pretty organized military structure. And on a regular basis, they kicked some butt and got their butt kicked at the same time, and half the time as well. Reason being is that they were wandering around in an area that was unknown to them. They were facing also a semi-organized resistance that was sometimes armed, sometimes not. They never knew who was going to pop up with a gun. I think that's a pretty good analysis to what might happen even in a survival situation here in the United States. You know, even if you've got yourself, let's say you're someone walking around with a gun, even if you have a semi-organized group of people walking around with you with guns, You're walking around areas that might or might not have ambushes that you have intelligence or you don't have intelligence about. And you're going to deal with people who are armed or who are not armed. The major difference here is that how many firefights are you going to be able to survive before your number comes up? Keep in mind that in Vietnam, the average infantry guy could within an hour be medevaced to a fairly well-stocked surgical facility to patch him up. In this kind of an instance, you wouldn't have that kind of situation. So just about every wound that you would get is probably pretty much fatal. And I suggest that wandering around using that type of a philosophy of rating, is going to pretty much end up with a very large percentage chance that within a fairly short period of time, you're going to be dead. So really, is the lead head the best way to plan for survival? No, I don't think so. Do you want to, prepare yourself as part of your preparations with food and medicine and self-defense? Yes, definitely. But I don't think it's a very good long-term survival situation. So, please, people, stop making those stupid comments on blogs about how you're going to take everything with your gun, because chances are those who live by the sword usually end up dying by that same sword too.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, if you want to read more about this article, there's a link right below here too. Thanks a lot.
Bye.